Are you a manager who is eager to change the trajectory of your career? I have spent the last 23 years as a Fortune 50 leader learning from other industry leaders how to break free from limiting beliefs and habits. On the Might in Motion podcast, we focus on the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. We bring you leaders from Fortune companies, doctors, and entrepreneurs. Their stories of living their own might in motion will inspire you to create your own action plan and achieve your goals. Welcome to Might in Motion. Today's episode of Might in Motion is brought to you by Pantheon FM, Fortunes Magnified. Pantheon FM is changing the world through entrepreneurship. In this community, you will find everything you need to create, amplify, and monetize your world-changing business. Join us at pantheon.community/register/LAUA. Today, I bring to you Sara Ellis Conant, CEO of A-Plan Coaching. She is an industry pioneer with over 20 years of experience in coaching. She started coaching in 2000 after being trained by her father, Dave Ellis, one of the founders of the coaching industry. She assists individuals and teams to make life-altering, lasting improvements in the areas of leadership, strategic planning, productivity, communication, and time management. Between her tenures as a coach, Sara managed the corporate responsibility and sustainability services at Deloitte Consulting from inception to 150 million annual revenue. Sara has an MBA and BA from Stanford University, as well as advanced coach training and a yoga teacher and certifications. Her company, A-Plan Coaching, is an optimized, scalable, and tech-enabled virtual coaching service for change makers. A-Plan's consistent coaching method is proven to improve productivity, innovation, diversity, and belonging, talent retention, fulfillment, and so much more. Sara, welcome to Might in Motion.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm so delighted to be here.
I am really excited. We were connected by a friend, and I love that friend dearly, and I know that she respects everything that you do and what you bring to the table. So I can't wait to learn more about A-Plan Coaching. What is it, and what inspired you to create this group?
Yeah, thanks, Mariana. Well, and I think so highly of our mutual friend. So hopefully her ears are burning, and she's as we're broadcasting today. Let's see. So A-Plan Coaching, as you said, thank you for that great introduction, is an optimized, scalable, and tech-enabled coaching platform. So, as you said, I've been coaching myself since 2000. I've had a coach since 96. So I was an early adopter, both as a client and a coach. And my co-founder, Michael Counts, was a client of mine, actually. And he came to me in 2017 and said, Sara, I know you're so committed to impact and making a huge difference in the world. You've been doing that by coaching very high-level change makers. I was coaching people in the U.S. cabinet, highest levels of government in city of San Francisco, CEOs of Fortune 100 companies. And he said, Sara, what if we did it instead through scale? Doesn't everyone deserve a coach? What if it wasn't just for executives anymore? And so that's how A-Plan was born. And now we have 75 incredible coaches, some of the best in the industry, some of the pioneers in the industry, like myself, who've been at this for 20, even 30 years, who worked with my father before they came to work for A-Plan. And also, the tech piece is a game changer for us. It allows us to make the coaching more efficient for the coach so they can spend less time. We handle the back end, so by consolidating the billing, the invoicing, the contracting process, all of that, we're able to consolidate the back end, create efficiencies, economies of scale, and then lower the price point overall to make it more accessible.
I'm excited to learn more about A-plan coaching because I love it when you don't have a plan B. And so tell me a little bit more about A-plan coaching and how you started it.
A-plan is an optimized, scalable, and tech-enabled coaching platform. So we like to think of it as coaching 2.0. And I was coaching kind of the 1.0 version from 2000 until 2017, when one of my coaching clients, Michael Counts, came to me and said, Sara, I know that your highest priority in life is impact, positive social good. And at the time I was doing that through who I was coaching, highest members of government, from, US cabinet members to City of San Francisco high-level officials, CEOs of Fortune 100 companies, high-level foundation and nonprofit executives. And he said, I think that coaching shouldn't just be for executive level leaders anymore. How about making it accessible at scale? And let's do that through tech and through kind of a standardized service where we combine the back end, right? So we have economies of scale so that the coaches who don't really want to, coaches just want to coach. They don't want to do the billing, the invoicing, the contracts, the marketing, the sales. So let's combine the back end. We can lower the price of that because of scale. Also make it more efficient through technology. And so that's how A-Plan was born. And now we have 75 coaches and serving thousands of clients. And, it's a powerful way that we are able to increase access to something that, again, is has historically been less accessible, both because of price and also language. So I can say more about that later, but some coaches are very jargony and we try hard to use accessible language.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And most of the people that tune into this podcast are the new managers, right? They now have direct reports that they've never had, or they've moved up within the organization. So now they're managers of managers. So when you think of where you were at 1.0, you're basically, like you mentioned, you're working with the executives. But that middle management, those initial people also need investment to really drive change, if that's social change and things that you mentioned you were interested in, or even their own careers so they could be better leaders. What have you noticed has been one of the biggest impacts now that you've made this pivot from the highest echelon within government and executives, as you think about the corporate world, to being able to open the doors to so many other people?
Yeah. And I'll say, coaching for new managers and also managers who are wanting to break through to the next level of their leadership has been a real sweet spot for us at A-Plan. So that's been so fun. A lot of people are promoted into management because they're very strong individual contributors, but don't necessarily have the skills they need to be great people managers or to navigate all the politics and all the new responsibilities of being a manager. So remind me what your question was. I resonated so much with what you said. I forgot the question.
So I think what's been kind of that biggest aha moment of now that you are working with that middle leadership, and maybe to hone it in a little bit more is, you mentioned now you're dealing with politics, you're dealing with development of people. What's maybe one or two nuggets that those new managers can take away today, and then they could be like, wow, you know what? I want to dive deeper. I want to reach out and have this on my own. But what are maybe some one or two things that they could take today to learn?
Yeah, absolutely. We do training in addition to coaching, and we define the difference between those two is that training is teaching, right? It's saying, I've got skills and tools that I think you, new manager, would find beneficial. Whereas coaching is really a process by which we say, boy, there's a lot of advice out there in the world. You can read books on new management, you can get mentorship, you can listen to podcasts. But the coaching space is to say, what's the answer within you, given your leadership style, given your organizational culture, things that someone giving advice might not be able to know all those things. And we say, hey, ultimately, the expert on your own leadership is you. The expert on your own management style is you. Yes, gather the input from the experts, but then the coaching space is to say, if you were my client, I'd say, Marietta, what, after all that you've learned, how do you feel you want to handle this difficult situation with your direct report? What's the conversation you want to have with that peer where there's some jockeying for position or kind of a political situation? So I just wanted to define first the difference between training and coaching. And then in terms of nuggets in our Manager Essentials training, we talk about the 4 different roles of a manager as being captain, so sort of setting the vision, right? Communicator, coordinator, and coach. And we go through all those 4 different roles for people. What does it take to be a good captain? What does it take to work across generations, to lead the ship? Communication, of course, being so key to set clear expectations of the folks who work for us, and also be a great listener. In a role of coordinator, right? Project management, setting goals, monitoring progress towards those goals, and then coach, right? That supportive, how do I develop my people, as you mentioned before, to be their best selves, to connect with their own best thinking as they deliver.
I love that because, as you mentioned, many times people are moving. They were superstars as an individual contributor. So they may have been really strong in a coordinator type project management type role. Now, all of a sudden, they're having to pour into others on their teams and step into what might be a little bit uncomfortable situations, right? And so I love how you break it out, being you have to be a captain, a communicator, a coordinator, and a coach, because that rounds you out as a leader to help your entire team.
Yes.
So kind of staying along the C theme, what do you think about culture and the impact culture has as you start hiring team members and developing out your team?
Yeah, I think it's critical. I was had another interview earlier today for a potential award as a growth company, and he asked me, "What do you think is the secret to A-Plan success?" And I told him culture. And so we hear from so many of our coaches who are independent contractors. So many of them also coach with some of our competitors. That what distinguishes A-Plan is our culture, and that we don't treat coaches like commodities, and that there's really a sense of deep investment by our coaches in one another's success, in the success of our company. We did a very grassroots. We just like we want to democratize access to coaching, we also democratized access to investment, and we did a friends and family round where the minimum investment was $1,000, so that we made it accessible for our coaches to become investors in our company. And since I was a very young woman, I've been interested in values-based culture as a competitive differentiator. And when I was in business school at Stanford, I got to do an independent study with Jerry Porras, who wrote Built to Last, along with Jim Collins, which proved Home Depot, I think, was featured in that case study of that most successful companies have strong values that are then operationalized in the culture.
Right. It's key because it can't just be, I have this sticker on the wall and it says that I like people, right? If you don't have that North Star, if you will, to allow everybody on the team to make decisions that align with what that vision, that purpose, that overall mission of the company, or the team, you end up with a whole bunch of different, things happening, and people don't want to stay. They don't find fulfillment, because culture creates community. Community creates this bond that drives the need to improve and win. Right? I don't want a family at work. I want a community at work.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. And I think more so than when I entered the workforce 25 years ago, people can tell, the BS meter is high, right? When things are not authentic. Like you said, it can't just be words anymore. People want to see it, and they demand, and they leave organizations that aren't able to create an authentic, values aligned culture where people, they're walking the talk.
So you've been doing this, a long time. What is something that you personally love to teach your clients?
Yeah. It's interesting. On our coaching continuum, we talk about spending about 80% of our time extracting the wisdom of the client. Because I think so often people are looking outside themselves for answers. But we do teach, about 20% of the time. And we actually have a list of, within A Plan, what we teach. There's 8 specific things that we teach to our clients and that we ask all of our coaches. These are kind of like A Plan endorsed things to teach your clients, because we know they work. So that's what I love to teach, is things that are proven, scientifically backed, researched. This will improve the quality of your leadership and your life. So let me go ahead and share a couple of those with you. One of them is around neurobiology. So really understanding that when my amygdala is firing, my fight, flight, or freeze, I literally biologically lose access to my prefrontal cortex, where complex thought occurs. And so we're often taught, walk around the block or take a few deep breaths. Well, adrenaline takes 20 minutes physiologically to leave our nervous system. So, it takes longer than just a couple of deep breaths. And to remember, don't fire off an email. Don't engage when you're in that space, but instead pause. Take enough time that you can choose a response rather than act from reaction. So that's one of my favorite tools to teach, to just develop self-awareness of, okay, am I in a place where my higher cortex is disabled? We call it the red zone. Or am I in that blue zone where I'm relaxed, I feel safe, and I can make great decisions using the full capacity of my prefrontal cortex?
I really like that. That resonates with me for a variety of reasons. One is that sometimes we get so amped up before the meeting happens, before the conversation happens, that we're setting ourselves up to be in that fight or flight before you're even in the situation. So, like me personally, I actually now take time to just think, and this may sound like woo-woo to some people, but I take time to be like, I'm going to have a positive interaction here. And I may do that the day before, so that when I'm in the moment, I'm already predispositioned to be in that blue zone, like you mentioned, instead of just coming in hot, right?
Absolutely. It's powerful. And again, science tells us that makes a difference in our ability to make good decisions.
Yes, I love that. Is there a book that really shaped your thoughts on development of others and that really inspired you?
Yeah. Oh gosh, so many. That feels like I'm looking over here at my bookshelf and thinking, which one do I want to kind of pull out and share with you? I will say that the dear friend that introduced you and me, Mariana, she and I met in a leadership course with one of my dearest mentors, who's been my mentor since I was in undergrad, and her name is Lynn Twist. And
Okay.
she's written multiple books. The first was called The Soul of Money, which is a phenomenal, phenomenal book. But she has her most recent book is on, let me just pull up the title here, on living a purpose-driven life.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's, let me just, okay, here it is. Living a committed life, finding freedom and fulfillment in a purpose larger than yourself. So basically, giving people a guide to that freedom and that fulfillment that comes when you're dedicated to something larger than your own fears, worries, concerns, insecurities. So whether it's, when I met Lynn, her commitment was to ending hunger on the planet, because at the time, 40,000 children were dying every day because they didn't have enough food to eat, even though there's enough food on our planet. Or, now one of her major commitments is to ending climate change, the climate crisis. And she's worked with all the Nobel Prize women, when all the Nobel winners who are women, as a coach to them. So that would be a book that I would offer up as just
I
a
love it.
wealth of practical tips.
Yeah, that's great, because I know, my audience, we love to read. I love to read. I also have my bookshelf over here that I have now tucked away because having it behind me just didn't make sense anymore. But has there been, and I know, I want to be respectful of your time, so I'd love to end with a transformation that you saw in one of your clients that really brought you so much joy that you'd like to share with the audience here.
Yeah, absolutely. The person that comes to mind right away is a law professor. I won't say which school to protect her anonymity, but she was newly tenured. So, like your new managers, right? New to this promotion. And she also happened to be a new mom at the time and was just struggling with work-life balance, like so many leaders are. I think it's a social ill for us in the Western world, whether it's, whether we're managers or not, whether we're parents or caregivers. We have a culture of really packing it in and staying very busy. And one of my, and I mean, I've done this exercise with dozens, if not hundreds of clients, which is we created her ideal schedule. I said, okay, let's just, pretend for a minute that anything were possible. And that's one of my favorite prompts as a coach. Let's just pretend that all limitations are removed. And so, okay, she created her ideal schedule. I'd wake up at this time and I'd do this, and I'd have time to exercise, and I'd have time to bond with my child, and I'd have plenty of time to grade papers and, all this. And then we started to just look at, okay, what baby steps can you take toward implementing that ideal schedule? And whether it's people who work in corporate or academia or government, people always have more flexibility than they originally think they do. And, to make those changes, to say, how can I, okay, what I really want is time to meditate every day. And just let's get creative. So one of my jobs as a coach is to help people think thoughts they've never thought before. So we go, all right, let's brainstorm all the possible ways to implement this aspect of your ideal schedule and think outside the box. Okay, great. You know what? We can meditate in the bathroom if we have to, or, whatever it is. We can find time, between work and coming home to the family to just take a walk around the block, just take a breath, just stare at a beautiful garden of flowers. Whatever it is that's going to move your heart and soul closer to being fulfilled, then that, of course, has positive ripple effects professionally as well as personally. So I guess what I want your listeners to know is, and anybody who's joining us today, once you identify that North Star, that clear goal, that heart's desire that you know will help you feel more fulfilled and be a better leader, just start making baby steps toward it and think outside the box. Think some ideas you've never thought of before, ideally in partnership with a coach or a friend who's willing to coach, not give you advice, but help you access your new ideas so you can make progress towards having results that you've never had before.
I love that so much. And I think your message and the way that you've set up a plan coaching it's creating this environment for people to own their own plan, right? And if you own your own plan, it's not, oh, Sarah told me to do it. It's I'm bought into this. And when you're bought into it, that's when change really, really happens. If people are, interested in learning more, connecting with you, connecting with one of your many coaches, you obviously have a large group of individuals. I want to pop up on the screen, but if you could just speak to what's the best way to connect and learn more out of, all the websites and LinkedIn and Instagram, all the different things.
Absolutely. So if you go to A Plan Coaching and express that you're interested in a coach and mention Might in Motion, we'd be delighted to offer you a month of free coaching when you sign up for 3 months, because we know that transformational change can't occur in just 1 month. So we do ask for a minimum commitment of 3 months. It's very affordable. Our coaching packages start at $250 a month. And so, we'd love to and scale up from there, but we'd love to find a coaching package that works for you. And the proprietary tech also will help. So you'll get to read about that on our website. So go through the website, fill out our intake survey that will we call it our automated coach matching, and it will give you 3 recommended coaches for you to view their profiles and see who might feel like a good fit for you. And that'll also invite you to set up a call with my co-founder, Michael. He still loves to do all of our one-on-one closing. And so you'll get to hear more from him about our offering. So.
That's awesome. And it's a great deal for anybody who's listening. So thank you so much for opening that up to the audience. I love to take notes. I don't know if you've listened to a prior episode, but some of the things that I wrote down that I just want to end with is that the way that your team at A Plan Coaching approaches things is that training is teaching, but coaching is giving you the connection with the expert that's within you and helping you ask those questions so that you can come to a solution, a vision that makes sense for the individual. When you're a leader, the 4 main pillars is you've got to be a captain, you're a communicator, a coordinator, and a coach, and you're doing that with your team. So having somebody behind you like A Plan Coaching to help you learn those 4 pillars is huge. And that you spend 20% of that time with your clients on trying to get that wisdom out of them, extracting that wisdom, listening to them and learning about them, so that the conversation and the 20% of learning or teaching is really tailored to that person. So it sounds amazing. I'm excited for you and the coaches you have. I think you mentioned you have 75 coaches right now and probably growing. But thank you again for joining us at Might in Motion. Thank you again for sharing that offer of a free month of coaching. If you mentioned Might in Motion, go to the website, learn more. Sarah, thank you so much for your time today and your grace through everything. And I really appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Mariana. Thank you for having me. It was a joy, and we're excited to, get to be featured. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And I hope this can be of service to all of your listeners.
Thank you for tuning into Might in Motion. If you learned something about motivation, momentum, mindfulness, or might, please like, comment, and share. Thank you.